I never thought my life could change in one single moment, but it did. The night my father handed me a box. His face was pale, his hands were trembling, and his eyes were filled with a weight I had never seen before. He pressed the box into my hands and whispered, "If anything happens to me, open this. Inside is the truth. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments where you're watching from." My heart raced. I asked him what he meant, what was inside, but he only gave me a tired look and said, "One day you'll understand." Seconds later, his body gave out. He collapsed right in front of me. And in that moment, I realized I was holding something far more dangerous than I could imagine. My name is Emma Dawson, and I had just moved back into my childhood home after finishing college. I thought I was returning to a life of peace and routine, surrounded by the safety of the small town I grew up in. My father, Samuel Dawson, was a respected lawyer in our community, a man everyone trusted. He was strong, reliable, and to me, unshakable. My mother, Linda, was the heart of the family, always kind and soft-spoken, while my younger brother, Noah, still in college, carried the carefree spirit that often balanced the seriousness of our father. We lived in Amethyst suburban house where weekends meant family dinners and evenings were filled with laughter or long conversations. I always believed we were an ordinary family. But in truth, my father had carried something heavy, something none of us could see. Until that night, when he placed the box in my hands, even as he lay on the floor unconscious, I couldn't stop staring at the box. It was old, wooden, with his initials carved into it. It felt heavy in more ways than one. I had no idea what kind of truth it carried. But something inside me knew that whatever was hidden there would change the way I saw my father forever. The moment my father collapsed, everything inside me broke. I screamed for my mother, and together we called for help. The ambulance arrived quickly, and he was rushed to the hospital. I sat in the back seat of my brother's car, clutching the wooden box, so tightly that my hand hurt. I couldn't let it go, not after the way my father gave it to me. His words replayed in my head over and over, "If anything happens to me, open this. Inside is the truth." At the hospital, we waited for hours as doctors worked on him. My mother held her hands together, whispering prayers while Noah paced the hallway, his phone buzzing every few minutes with messages from his friends. I sat quietly with the box on my lap, staring at it like it might suddenly open on its own. The more I looked at it, the more questions consumed me. Why would my father, the man I thought I knew so well, have something so sacred and so urgent that he would call it the truth? When the doctor finally came out, his face was calm, but serious. "He's stable for now," he said. "We'll have Torin more tests, but it looks like his heart gave out under stress." Relief washed over me, but fear lingered. What kind of stress had my father been under? He had never shown us a weakness before. He was always in control, always the strongest person in the room. Back at home that night, the house felt empty without him. My mother kept herself busy cleaning the kitchen, avoiding the box completely, while Noah kept looking at me with restless curiosity. Emma huffily said, "We should just open it. Whatever's inside, Dad clearly wanted you to know." I shook my head. He didn't say to open it now. He said, "If something happens to him, he's still alive. We should wait." Noah sighed, running a hand through his hair. "What if he never wakes up? What if someone else comes looking for it? Don't you get it? He gave it to you for a reason." His words unsettled me more than I wanted to admit. Deep down, I felt the same pull, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. That night, sleep refused to come. I tossed and turned, hearing every creak and shift of the house like it was a warning. Sometime past midnight, I got up to drink water. And as I passed the front window, I noticed something unusual. A car I didn't recognize was parked across the street. Engine off, lights dimmed. It hadn't been there earlier. My chest tightened. The neighborhood was quiet at that hour. and the sight of that car sitting so still made me uneasy. The next day, I carried the box into my father's office. His desk was covered in neatly stacked papers. Family photos lined the shelves, and the smell of high-sold cologne lingered in the air. I set the box on his desk and sat down in his chair, staring at it again. For the first time, I noticed small scratches near the lock, like someone had tried to force it open before. My stomach dropped. Later that afternoon, as my mother and I sat by my father's hospital bed, a man I didn't recognize walked into the room. He wore a dark suit and had a calm but unsettling presence. He spoke briefly with the nurse before turning to us. "I'm a friend of Samuel's," he said smoothly. He was supposed to give me something important. Did he mention a box? My blood ran cold. My mother shook her head immediately, saying she didn't know what he was talking about, but I could feel his eyes on me, searching, almost as if he already knew I had it. I held my breath, clutching the strap of my bag where the box was hidden inside. After he left, my mother turned to me with a worried look. "Emma, please don't open that thing. Your father carried his secrets for a reason. Some truths are better left alone." Her voice cracked, and for the first time, I realized she might have known more than she let on. But her fear only made me more determined. My father had chosen me, not her, to carry this weight. He trusted me to know the truth. That night, Noah cornered me in the kitchen. I saw that man at the hospital. He wasn't family. He wasn't a friend. You can't just sit around anymore. Whatever's in that box, it's the reason Dad collapsed. I know it. His words echoed the storm already brewing inside me. The conflict was clear. Do I honor my mother's plea to stay away from the box, hoping my father would wake and explain it himself? Or do I risk everything, open it, and face a truth it might not be ready for? As I lay in bed with the box resting on my nightstand, I realized there was no peace left in waiting. The secret had already begun to chase us. The car outside, the stranger in the hospital, the look in my mother's eyes. I knew that soon I would have to choose between protecting my family's peace or uncovering the truth my father trusted only me to carry. The box sat on my nightstand for 2 full days, and I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I dreamed of my father's voice, repeating the same words. "If anything happens to me, open this." I tried to convince myself to wait, to let him recover and tell me the truth himself. But deep inside, I knew time was running out. He was still in the hospital, barely conscious, and every hour that passed made me wonder if I would ever hear his voice again. By the 3rd day, I couldn't take it anymore. The unease around me was growing. That same strange car showed up again, parked across from our house, its tinted windows making it impossible to see inside. I noticed it while taking out the trash, and when I turned to look, the car's headlights flicked on for a moment, as if warning me it was watching. My chest tightened with fear. Whoever wanted the box wasn't going to stop. That evening, I walked into my father's office. I set the box on his desk and stared at it under the yellow glow of the lamp. Noah followed me in, his eyes restless. "Are we finally doing this?" he asked. "I don't know," I whispered more to myself than to him. "What if Mom's right? What if this destroys us?" Noah leaned against the bookshelf, shaking his head. "Mom's scared of the truth, Emma. Dad trusted you with it. Not me, not her. You. He wanted you to know. Don't you think that means something?" His words hit me hard. My father had chosen me for a reason. Maybe he believed I was strong enough to face what he couldn't tell us out loud. My hands trembled as I touched the lock. The small brass keyhole stared back at me, mocking my hesitation. I remembered seeing an old key in my father's desk drawer once, tucked behind a stack of files. If the key was still there, this was the moment to use it. I searched through his drawers, pushing aside envelopes, papers, and pens until my fingers touched cool metal. I pulled out a tiny brass key worn from years of use and held it in my palm. Noah leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. That has to be it. Before I could act, Mom entered the room. Hiryes went straight to the box. Then Tommy hand-holding the key, she froze, her face tightening with fear. Emma, she said sharply, don't. Please don't open it. I looked at her shocked. Mom, why are you so afraid of this? Dad gave it to me. He wanted me to know. Tears welled in her eyes. She walked closer and put her hand over mine. Because I know your father. He kept things from us, to protect us. If you open that box, you can never close it again. Once you see what's inside, you won't be able to pretend life is normal anymore. Her voice cracked, and for a moment, I felt the weight of her fear pressing down on me. But then I thought of the man at the hospital, the car outside our house, the scratches on the lock. The danger was already here. Pretending life was normal wouldn't save us. I gently pulled my hand away. Mom, I can't ignore this. Dad trusted me, and I have to honor that. If there's truth in here that could hurt us, then we're already living in danger by not knowing it. She closed her eyes, tears sliding down her cheeks, and stepped back without another word. My heart pounded as I slid the key into the lock. It turned smoothly with a click that echoed louder than it should have. I lifted the lid slowly, half expecting something to jump out. But instead, I found neat stacks of papers, photographs, and a sealed envelope with my name written across it in my father's handwriting. My breath caught. I picked up the envelope, the paper rough beneath my fingers. Noah leaned closer. What is it? What's inside? I opened the letter, my father's words flowing onto the page in his familiar handwriting. He wrote about his past, a part of his life I had never known. Years ago, he had worked on a case that exposed a powerful crime network. He had hidden evidence away, knowing that keeping it secret was the only way to protect his family. That evidence, he wrote, was in this very box. I scanned the documents and photographs, proof of deals, names of men in positions of power, images that made my stomach twist. This wasn't just some old case. This was dangerous. My father had carried this burden alone, and now, by opening the box, I had stepped into his world. The final line of his letter struck me the hardest. Emma, if you are reading this, it means my time has ended, or I no longer have the strength to fight. You are my only hope now. Protect this truth and protect your brother and mother at all costs. I lowered the letter, my hands shaking. Noah's face was pale, his voice quiet. Emma, this isn't just about Dad anymore. Whoever was watching the house, whoever came to the hospital there after this, I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of my father's trust settle onto my shoulders. This was no longer about curiosity. It was about survival. The truth was mine to carry. And for the first time in my life, I realized I had no choice but to fight for it. The moment I finished reading my father's letter, the air in the room felt heavier. The truth sat in my lap, not just as words on paper, but as a burden that I knew could change everything. I finally understood why he'd looked at me with so much intensity when he handed me the box. He wasn't just protecting me. He was passing down a fight he could no longer carry. Noah stood beside me, pacing the room. His face was pale, his eyes darting between the papers and the window as though danger might walk right up to our door. Emma, this is insane. These are powerful people. If Dad really kept this hidden all these years, then we can't just sit there. Someone's already watching us. Before I could answer, there was a noise outside. A car door slamming, footsteps crunching on the driveway. My heart jumped. I quickly stuffed the letter and documents back into the box and slid it under the desk. Noah peeked through the curtains. There's someone out there, he whispered. A heavy knock rattled the front door. My mother froze in the hallway, her hands clutching her chest. The knock came again, this time harder. A man's voice called out, calm, but firm. Miss Dawson, we know your father trusted you with something. Let us in. It'll be easier for everyone. Fear surged through me, but I forced myself to stay quiet. Noah whispered, we need to call the police. I shook my head. Not yet. If these people have power, they may already have influence. We can't trust just anyone. The door knobs hook violently, and my mother gasped. I motioned for her to stay quiet and grabbed the baseball bat from the corner of the room. Every second stretched like an eternity as the intruders tried to force their way in. My hands trembled, but I held the bat tight, ready for the worst. Then the sound of shattering glass exploded from the back of the house. They weren't waiting for an invitation. They were coming in. Noah grabbed my arm. Emma, we have to go now. We rushed toward the basement door, dragging Mom with us. My father had reinforced it years ago for storms, and it was the safest place we had. I shoved the box under my arm as we hurried down the steps, locking the heavy door behind us. The darkness swallowed us, broken only by the dim light of a single bulb overhead. We could hear footsteps upstairs, heavy and deliberate. Drawers opened and slammed shut. Voices barked orders. Find the box. It has to be here. Mom was trembling, tears streaming down her face. I told you not to open it, she whispered. Now they'll kill us. I knelt beside her, holding her hands. No, Mom. This isn't my fault. This was Dad's truth, and he wanted us to carry it. We just have to survive long enough to get it into the right hands. Noah picked up a metal pipe from the corner, his jaw tight. If they come down here, we fight. The footsteps grew closer. The floor above creaked as they searched every corner. Then the sound shifted toward the basement door. The knob rattled, and Dwone of the men cursed. It's locked. Break it open. My pulse hammered in my ears. I clutched the box so tightly I could feel the wood biting into my arms. This was it. If they got through, there would be no more hiding. But just as the pounding on the basement door began, sirens pierced the night outside. Red and blue lights flashed through Thesmall basement window. The intruders cursed again. Footsteps thundering toward the front door. Doors slammed and engines roared as they sped away. Relief flooded me, but it was tangled with fear. The police had come, but the men had escaped. This wasn't over. Minutes later, officers broke into the basement, pulling us out to safety. I clutched the box as I explained everything from my father's collapse to the strangers breaking in. The officer in charge listened carefully, his face grim. If what you're saying is true, you're not safe here. Whoever these men are, they won't stop. That box is the reason they came, and they'll come again. He looked at me squarely. Do you understand the risk, Miss Dawson? I nodded, holding the box close to my chest. I understand, but my father trusted me with this. I'm not giving it up for a moment. Silence hung in the air. Then the officer gave a slow nod. Then we'll protect you. But you need to be ready for what comes next. This isn't just a family matter anymore. It's bigger than all of us. As the officers escorted us outside, I looked back at our home. Windows shattered, doors broken. The place that once felt like safety, now a battleground. I realized my life would never return to the way it had been. I wasn't just Samuel Dawson's daughter anymore. I was the keeper of his truth, and the weight of it had already begun to change me. After that night, nothing in my life felt the same. The sight of police lights flashing against the walls of our home, the broken glass scattered across the living room floor, and the sound of men's voices demanding the box were burned into my memory. Our house, once a place of warmth and safety, now felt like the front line of a battle I had never asked for. In the days that followed, I kept the box close to me at all times. The police provided temporary protection with officers parked outside the house and checking in often, but even with their presence, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time I passed a car on the street, I looked twice. Every unfamiliar face made my stomach knot with suspicion. My father's condition grew worse, and we spent our time shuttling between the house and the hospital. When he finally opened his eyes for more than a few minutes, I sat beside him, holding his hand tightly. His voice was weak, but the look in his eyes was steady. "Emma," he whispered, "you opened it, didn't you?" Tears blurred my vision as I nodded. "Yes, Dad. I know everything. The documents, the photos, the letter. I understand now why you carried this alone." His hand squeezed mine. Frail but firm. "You can't let them win. The truth is the only weapon we have. You're stronger than you think. Protect your mother. Protect your brother. And no matter how heavy this feels, don't let fear silence you." Those were some of his last words to me. A few days later, he was gone. Losing him broke me in ways I can't describe. But at the same time, his death steeled something inside me. He hadn't just left me with grief. He'd left me with purpose. The funeral drew. People from all over town, neighbors, clients, and friends came to pay their respects. Speaking of Samuel Dawson as a man of integrity and courage, none of them knew the full story, the secret fight he had carried in silence. I stood at the front with Noah and Mom, clutching the folded letter in my hand like it was a lifeline. When people asked about the box, I stayed silent. That truth wasn't for public eyes yet. After the funeral, life didn't return to normal. It couldn't. I began meeting with investigators who were honest and willing to take risks. Carefully, piece by piece, I handed over copies of the documents from the box, keeping the originals safe. The names, dates, and evidence inside connected powerful people to crimes buried for years. It was more than enough to expose them. But the danger that came with it was very real. Mom struggled to accept what was happening. She wanted to hold on to the idea that Dad was just a husband and father, not a man tangled in dangerous secrets. But slowly, as she saw the pieces come together, even she realized the truth couldn't be ignored. She cried often. But one evening she told me, "Your father believed in justice more than anything else." I guess now it's your turn. Noah surprised me the most. My carefree younger brother, who used to roll his eyes at responsibility, became my closest ally. He studied the documents with me, asked questions, and stayed awake at night keeping watch. "Dad wanted you to lead this," he said. "But he didn't say you had to do it alone. I've got your back." The more we uncovered, the more I realized how far-reaching my father's fight had been. The truth inside that box was powerful enough to shake people in positions I never imagined. And though it scared me, I knew giving it up, hiding it, or pretending it wasn't ours to carry would dishonor everything my father had risked his life for. Looking back, I see now that the box wasn't just filled with papers and secrets. It was filled with a test. A test of courage, loyalty, and strength. My father trusted me because he knew I had all three, even when I doubted myself. Carrying his truth has been the hardest thing I've ever done, but it also gave me a kind of strength I never knew. I no longer see my father only as the strong man who raised me. I see him as a warrior who chose to fight in silence and as a parent who trusted his daughter to finish what he started. Losing him left a wound that will never fully heal. But in his final act, he gave me something even greater than answers. He gave me the courage to face a truth that most would have run from. That night when he collapsed and left the box in my hands, I thought I was holding a mystery. Now I know I was holding his legacy. And as heavy as it feels, I won't let go of it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more powerful stories.